All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for this week's installment of the Long Coffee Break. Today, we will be talking about Spirotherm and creating a new normal in hydronic systems. My name is Chris Visconti. I'm a sales engineer here at Long, and I'm very excited to be joined this morning by Stephen Clinton with Spirotherm. Stephen, looks like this is the 30-year anniversary of Spirotherm. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how Spirotherm got started and how you're working to create a new normal in hydronic air and dirt separation.
Hi, Chris. I'll be glad to. Thank you for the opportunity for Spirotherm to meet with you guys today. I love this concept of the 15-minute discussion. So we're just going to talk about a few things, kind of in a conversation. We'd love to follow up with you. Our Long building partners would follow up, go into any more detail of anything that you'd like to discuss. As Chris mentioned, this is our 30th anniversary for Spirotherm here in North America. The great thing is it's 30-year anniversary for us in North America, but it's 50 years for us internationally. Mr. Raffleson founded the entire industry of coalescing separation technology in about 1970. So we've been doing this for a very long time. Anything from a 3/4 inch pipe connection up to currently a 36-inch pipe connection, we can handle it. This is all that we do, and we're all over the place. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've had an interesting time with Spirotherm because I learned about them the last several years during my 19-year consulting engineer career. Was a representative for them and have been with them as director of business development for the last 5 years or so. So this is a product I've known for a long time, and I definitely believe in it. Again, thank you for your time. You know, air in a hydronic system is very, very expensive. Oftentimes we may look at it and not think of the issues that it causes. But there are three main issues that air causes in these systems. One, it's corrosion. Our industry does a decent job oftentimes of looking at corrosion, but oftentimes that is, let's dump some chemicals in a pot feeder and then go away for 6 months to a year. That corrosion causes all kinds of issues that we're all aware of. The other thing is it reduces heat transfer. That's the most important thing to walk away from, I think, today, is air is an insulator. It's been used for a long time for that purpose. When we look at a fluid, we're trying to calculate the heat transfer in that fluid. So that's mass flow rate times the specific heat of the fluid times the temperature differential. Well, if I have water in any other fluid, then that fluid, it's continually serving, it's doing what it's supposed to. But if I have an air-water mixture, it's significantly reducing the ability of that fluid to transfer heat. Specific heat of water is 4 times out of air. The density, which goes into the mass flow rate, 830 something times more dense than air. So air in a system is causing issues with heat transfer. That affects everything in the entire system. Chillers, boilers, air handling units, coils, anything you can think of. The third part is that pump is pumping water and compressing air at the same time. That's not what it was intended to do. Gould's pump manual, the centrifugal pumps handbook, and Labor-Tabor and the white paper you see on the image down to the right. There's 3 pump industry documents that talk about just how 2% in trained air, that's not much fluid in a system, can affect pump performance by 10%. 4% in trained air can affect pump performance by 43%. That's a big deal. That pump was never intended to do double duty. Now, most systems have used traditional tangential air separators. That's the roll air troll on the left. That's been around for decades. The current version of that, and basically manufactured by different manufacturers, it's just an empty vessel. There's nothing inside. The thing I noticed when I first went to the Little Red Schoolhouse for training back early in my career, I wondered, why would we have a device that swirls water around, pushes the water from the top down and takes it out the bottom when the air bubbles are trying to rise to the top? So that's something to consider, because those small bubbles don't have much buoyant force to counteract the direction of the water flow. I like a picture is 1,000 words, but we're going to show a quick video. You may not be able to hear the sound, but something to note, that's a free air pocket that's caught up in the system. This is a system that's circulating. It's going through the separator. You can see the air bubbles coming out of the separator. We'll zoom in a minute. Keep your eye on the upper right-hand corner of that bubble. The only way to get free air pockets out of a system where coils are, high points in systems, is to either have an infinite number of air vents, so basically vent the air manually everywhere you can think of, or you need to have it so that the air literally becomes absorptive. How are we able to do that? Well, as you can see, those tiny, tiny air bubbles are coalescing on the element. That's important. That's why it's called a coalescing element. Tiny air bubbles like edges. They grab hold. The upper portion of the vessel allows that to have a restive state. So the air bubbles can either, bigger ones can rise to the top, as you can see. They come to the bottom of the vent and then they go to the top. They push the float down. It releases the air. The other thing is those tiny bubbles attract other tiny bubbles. That's how the heavy lifting gets done. We have low velocity. We have low turbulence. We come in, the water slows down. It's not turbulent. The opportunity for those big bubbles to rise to the top and the small ones to coalesce. Now, something very important to note is there are several things that you need to note if people come to you looking at other supposed coalescing separators. There are other manufacturers that will say, we have a coalescing separator. Well, as you'll notice here, this unit on the left, it is completely filled side to side, top to bottom, as you notice on the right on the image there. That vessel has the coalescing technology all the way through. There are some manufacturers that use, Paul rings and randomly oriented baskets. Some of those baskets are square cross-section inside a round vessel. Some are round. Others only have portions of the media and portions of the vessel. So you have lots of open sections where bubbles or air bubbles or dirt particles can be pulled back through into the unit. Some others use basically just stainless steel plate that's basically perforated. Basically the same plate has the same specification as a typical strainer, and they're in Z patterns or other things. So to be most effective, you need the Spirotherm technology with our coalescing separator. Our biggest competitor has always been the traditional separator. In this case, we mocked up a roll air troll with our unit, 4-inch unit, 240 GPM. As we flowed through, we put their unit first, then we put our unit. And if you'll notice something, the yellow line is the air removal that's coming out of the Spirotherm. The dark line is coming out of the roll air troll. You'll notice that when we get first crack at it on the graph down below, we're even more effective more quickly. A roll air troll is an empty vessel pushing water down when air bubbles are trying to rise to the top. We're different from that. We're most effective initially and also through the life of the system. So there definitely is a difference. Dirt is often, there can be some dirt, literally dirt from a construction site. More often than not, though, the dirt we talk about in systems, that's metallic debris. That's rust, magnetite, hematite, things like that. That's metallic debris flowing through your system. That's liquid sandpaper. It tears things up. It clogs filters. It messes up pump seals. It tears up flow meters and basically everything else. It causes premature equipment failure. Now, in our industry, typically, traditional methods have not been full flow. Traditional methods have been Sidestream. Maybe 10 to 15% of that flow is used and it's taken through a bag filter, a cartridge filter, maybe through a sand filter, or possibly could go through a cyclonic filter. In some of those systems, you can get out different size particles, things like that. The nice thing about our unit is that we can remove 80% of particles 30 microns and larger in just 100 circulations. In a closed loop system, we can get down to 5 microns in size. 8 microns is a red blood cell, just to give you an idea. The other thing too is we need specific gravity of 1 or greater. Some of the other technologies require a specific gravity of 2.5 or greater because in the case of cyclonic, they have to use centrifugal force to spin things around. Very, very effective. Just a few pictures. The upper one and the one on the right, those are chilled water systems. It took a week, and on the image on the top, took 2 weeks. The image on the right to remove the debris from the system. The other two pictures are from glycol systems. The one on the left was literally tar. Our rep had the opportunity to place an order to replace the entire piping system in the building, installed a SPIRO vent, cleaned up the system. So how are we different? We're not a filter, we're not a strainer. There's a difference there. What you're going to see is we're going to circulate now the water around the SPIRO vent, then we're going to push the water through it. What you'll notice is the same principles that allow us to effectively remove air from the system, low velocity, low turbulence, the maximum opportunity for adhesion and collision also happens with dirt. the water comes in, the dirt particles slow down. They have to bounce around, work their way through the vessel. They fall to the bottom. We do not have a pressure drop change because we're not catching and holding. Filtering and straining, catch and hold. They work well that way, but your pressure drop goes up. As you'll see here, this is a combination unit. So I'm removing air, removing dirt. I had a customer tell me one time, he said, so Stephen, you have a product that with no moving parts, no electrical connections, no BAS interface, no commissioning, no test and balance, we can effectively remove air from a system, improve my energy efficiency, decrease my chemical usage, and elongate the life of my equipment for a very, very low cost. And I said, yes, that's correct. Something to consider.
Stephen, you presented a lot of powerful information and great talking points here, but at the end of the day, what does that truly translate to for the owner of a building and the rest of the design and project team?
That's a great question. We have a lot of resources available to our customers. We have case studies, white papers. We've done a sophisticated energy modeling and financial analysis of a large hospital facility that we moved around different parts of the country. We have lots of information from our customers. This is the type of thing we would love to sit down with you and our long partners and go through all this. We can help look at your specific sites, walk your sites, see what's going on, because we have customers that have increased plant capacity by over 15%, decreased pump speeds by 22%. We have one customer who told us, he said, Stephen, and the way we came up with the phrase new normal was, he said, look, after we installed the SPIRO vent in our system, our chilled water system, he said, we've seen all kinds of benefits. He told me this was recently. He said, I've been operating this plant since it was built over 25 years ago. After removing air and the dirt from the system, not only did our differential pressure decrease by 35 PSI, not feet, 35 PSI, he said, we don't have the air, we don't have the dirt, we don't have the clogs, we don't have the hot and cold calls we used to. Those are some of the things we can do. One thing that's very important to note too is as part of the financial analysis that we can help you with is to look at the graph on the bottom. We need to look at this in the long term because our units have been in operation some for over 20 years. So you can install a unit and initial first cost, but then you get immediate results, energy savings. You get chemical reduction, you get all kinds of things that you can track. It just keeps on providing through the life of the unit. You know, we work hard for every member of the project team. Our little minions get out there as they're working, everyone benefits. We have an owner that is going to have his project started on time. He's not going to have some of the issues that he typically has to deal with. One of the things when I was having that discussion with the customer, it's we no longer have business as usual. It's a new normal. So we have an owner and a manager who operates the system who will see a lot of the issues they typically have going away. The design team will benefit because you only have time to sell. So if there are problems during startup, commissioning during the first year of warranty period, then that gets the engineer, the architects, everyone gets involved. But if you have a system, if you have the SPIRO vent in the system, you're protecting the equipment from the time the system initially is started and filled through the life of the project, which is very, very effective. In a like manner, general contractors and mechanical contractors, as well as commissioning agents and test and balance folks like it, because what is one of the biggest headaches you run into in a project? The 24 to 72 hours before substantial completion. You're trying to purge air, you're trying to deal with all kinds of issues, causes punch list items, things like that. Our unit allows the system to be air and dirt free when you're trying to start it up. Also too, it protects the system during the first year warranty period, and oftentimes rust and things happen. Everybody has a headache from that. So everybody in the project benefits from an air and dirt free system. So I hope that's some good information. What a great concept this is to have this coffee break just to talk about a few things. So would love to follow up with you if you have any questions for me or your long building partners, then we would love to participate with you in that. But thank you again for this opportunity to present to you today.
Thanks again, Stephen. It was a great presentation, a lot of valuable information there. And as Stephen mentioned, if you do have any questions or anything piqued your interest, please reach out to your long sales engineer. Now let's get to our weekly prize giveaways. We have some great selections from our Backyard Camping Showcase Showdown. The first selection is a North Face sleeping bag. Prize number 2 is a 1080p portable movie projector. And prize number 3 are some fantastic unicorn nightlights. Thanks again, everyone. Just a reminder, next week, Bobby Henderson will be presenting on PBI long life water heating solutions and introducing a great new product from PBI, the Brigade water heater. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.